Well, now it's time to test your memory. We're going to put 4 chords together, okay? We're going to do the A, the E, the G, and the D. And then we're just going to loop them around, 4 strums of each, okay? So we're going to start with the A, then we're going to go to the E, just sliding your first finger back and placing the other 2 fingers down. Then we're going to go to the G, pick everything up, go to the G, and then we're going to go to the D. Again, you got to pick everything up to get back to the D. So I think you'll like the way these 4 chords sound together. Let's start with the A. We're going to do 4 strums of each chord. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Back to A. 1, 2, 3, 4. To E. 1, 2, 3, 4. To G. 1, 2, 3, 4. And to D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if this seems a little fast for you, don't worry about it. You'll catch up. I'm playing them this way because I want you to get to the point where you can do that. But just do the best that you can right now. If you miss the chord change, just join me as soon as you can. But as you keep practicing this and loop it, you'll do better and better. Let's take a closer look at the hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now, using the 4 major chords, E, G, D, and A, there are more songs that you can be playing. And let's try some different grooves. Now, don't think that every chord has to be played with the same groove. For example, you could just strum the E, strum the G, and then do a different strum for the D and the A. Like that. Listen to that. If I were to play it more quickly, it would sound like this. So if you're like me, when you hear the chords played with those different rhythms, it probably generates a whole bunch of memories of different songs that you heard. So now, take a look at this list of new songs that use 4 chords. See if you can find some songs that you like, and spend the rest of today's lesson practicing them. Enjoy! Well, it's a new day, and I think we should do a little bit of review now that we've got these 4 chords down. And let's throw in some new strumming so that we can practice making these songs really sound musical. So, starting with the A chord, we're going to play it twice. Then with the E chord, we'll also play it twice, but we'll play it faster. Then we'll go to the G chord slow, twice. The D chord twice, but faster. So when we play it together, it's going to sound like this. I'll count us off, and let's play it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead and loop that. It's that time again. That list is really growing. So pick a few songs that you like and spend the rest of this lesson playing them. Have fun. Now we're going to learn the C major chord, also known as the C chord. And this is a great one to learn right now because it goes really well with the G chord that you already learned. You're going to be able to play a lot of songs just with these two chords alone. The C chord is the first chord that we're learning where each finger has its own fret. So we're going to put the first finger on the second string in the first fret. 1, 2. We're going to put our second finger on the fourth string in the second fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to take our third finger and stretch it all the way to the third fret on the fifth string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a bit of a stretch, so make sure your hand positions are as they should be. Try to use the tips of your fingers as much as possible. Keep your fingers close to the ends of the frets. Let's just strum all the strings for now. Most people only strum 5 strings, but we can go ahead and strum all 6 with the C chord. It'll give us a nice big sound. And let's strum each one individually for clarity. So now we're going to combine the C chord and the G chord. So let's set up for C. Remember, each finger has its own fret. Get a nice stretch, keeping your fingers close to the ends of the frets, and you'll get a good sound. When you move to G, you got to move all your fingers. Okay, so we're going to practice this, and I want you to practice it a lot with the loop, and it'll become second nature. So here we go. We're going to do 8 strums of each. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go to G. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and to G. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now go ahead and loop that, and then we'll also take a closer look. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now with the C major chord, there are lots of new songs that you can play. One example would be Good Lovin'. I used to play that in my band. Good love, good love, good love. Or as a guitar player, of course, Hendrix was always one of my favorites to play. And Hey Joe uses all the chords you know to date. Hey Joe, where you going with that gun in your hand? And it's slow, straight strum using every chord. So it's a great practice song for you. So take a look at the new song list, find a few that you like, and spend the rest of today's lesson practicing them. Have fun. Today we're going to practice strumming using the chords that we know, C, G, D, and A. For this strumming, we'll start with C, then we'll go to G, then we'll go to D, and we'll end on A. And then we'll keep going around and around. And let's try a little bit of a reggae-ish kind of feel for this one. So it'll be down, down, up, down, up. Okay, that's what we're going to do for every chord. Let me just give you a quick example. Down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Okay, and we're going to loop it. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. C, G, D, A, back to C, G, we're going to go to D now, and to A. Make sure you loop that. These reggae kind of rhythms can be a little tricky, but you're going to get it. So go ahead and pick out some more tunes off of that long list of songs that you're learning. It's amazing how many songs you can now play, so go have fun with them. Now we're going to learn our first minor chord. This is called A minor. Sometimes you see it written just with an M-I-N, or it might be written out as A minor, but the most frequent way that you'll see it is the letter A followed by a small M. Stands for minor, A minor. So we're going to put our first finger on the second string in the first fret. 1, 2. We're going to put our second finger on the fourth string in the second fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to stick our third finger right underneath that on the third string, also in the second fret. 1, 2, 3. Now you're looking at it and probably thinking that looks a lot like the E chord that I already learned. Well, you're right, it does. It's basically the same fingering, except that everything is just a string closer to the ground. So let's go ahead and strum all the strings. Again, a lot of players would only strum 5 strings for this chord, but you can strum all 6. It'll give a nice big sound. That's the A minor chord. Let's see how each string sounds by itself. And strum it down. So now we're going to combine C major and A minor, okay? And I think you're going to like this. I like playing this chord change. And the reason is, it's easy. You just got to move one finger. Take a look. Here's your C. And then to get to A minor, you're just going to take that third finger and put it right underneath your second finger. Let me show that to you again. C, A minor, okay? One finger moves. So we're going to do 8 strums of C, 8 strums of A minor, and then loop it, practice. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take a closer look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to do A minor, G, and D. Okay, 1 minor, 2 major chords. So let's start with A minor, and then we're going to go to the G chord, and then we're going to go to D. Okay, 4 strums of A minor, 4 strums of G, 4 strums of D, and then 4 strums of A minor again, and then we'll loop it. So here we go. Ready? Set up for A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 1, 2, 3, 4. D, 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stay on A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now D, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So go ahead and loop that, and then let's take a closer look. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So take a look at all these new songs that you can play now that you've got the A minor chord down. One that comes to my mind is Tom Petty's Last Dance with Mary Jane. And keep in mind, I'm using that strum pattern of playing the lower notes and then the chord, the lower notes and then the chord. That really gives the feel for that song. A minor, G, and D. Or if you're more in the mood for a ballad, you could play Knockin' on Heaven's Door just by using G, D, and A minor. I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door. So go ahead and check out that song list. There must be a lot of new songs there that you've wanted to play. Have fun. I'll see you tomorrow. Today, we're going to practice mixing up the minor chords, the major chords, and some rhythms. We're going to keep this pretty simple because these minor chords, they lend themselves to slow, dark kinds of sounding songs. And it's fun to play that way sometimes. So we've got the A minor chord, then we're going to move that one finger to make it a C, then we're going to make a G chord, and finally we'll go to the D. We're going to keep this slow, and we're just going to strum down twice for each chord, just like this. Okay? So the strumming's not complicated, but we're moving through these chords pretty quickly. Let me count us off. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead and loop that. That list is growing and growing, so spend the rest of today playing some of your favorite songs, and I'll see you tomorrow. The next chord we're going to learn is the E minor chord, often just notated as E with a small M after it. This one's pretty easy to set up because it only involves 2 fingers. We're going to put our first finger on the 5th string in the 2nd fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to put our second finger right underneath it on the 4th string in the same fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. Just these 2 fingers. So let's go ahead and strum all the strings and see what an E minor chord sounds like. Check each string by itself. and then go ahead and strum it again. That's the E minor chord. So now let's start combining minor chords. We're going to combine the E minor, just 2 fingers, with the A minor. Now your second finger stays in the same place for both, so you don't have to move it at all. That makes the switch a lot easier. Let's look at that again. E minor to A minor. Okay? We're going to do 8 strums of E minor, 8 strums of A minor. So set up for E minor. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Back to E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go ahead and take a look at that on the close-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to combine G, E minor, A minor, and D. And some of these share common fingers, so the chord changes are easier than you might think. Let's take a look at G. Set up. Your first finger stays in the same place when you switch to E minor. Take a look. Okay, let me do that again. Here's G. The first finger stays where it is for E minor. Now, when we go to A minor, the second finger stays where it is. So we lift up the first, replace it, and put down the third finger. Take a look at that again. E minor, the second finger stays where it is, and we go to A minor. Then we're going to go to the D chord. For that, we've got to jump all of our fingers, okay? Take another look at that change, A minor to D, and then we're going to go back to G, okay? So we're going to do 4 strums of each chord. We're going to start with G, then 4 strums of E minor, 4 strums of A minor, 4 strums of D. You ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to G. 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead and loop that, and then let's take a close look so you can really see those common fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now with the E minor chord, there are a lot more songs you can play. For example, Wonderful Tonight. And then she asks me, do I look alright? And I say yes, you look wonderful tonight. Or if you want to pick up the pace a little bit, my brown-eyed girl. 'Cause you're my brown-eyed girl. There are lots of different songs you can play. Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Take a look at that list, experiment with the new chords, and have fun learning more songs. I'll see you tomorrow. Today we're going to start off again practicing some strumming. The chords that we already know, G, E minor, C, and D. And we're going to keep the strumming pretty simple, but again, we're going to start moving through these chords a little bit more quickly. So we're first going to start off with the G, then we're going to go to the E minor, so your first finger can stay down. Then we're going to go to the C, so your second finger can stay down. And then we'll jump to the D, and we'll repeat that. As far as the strumming goes, we're just going to go down, down, up, and then switch chords. Down, down, up, switch chords. Down, down, up. Finally, switch chords again. Down, down, up. So this is going to move quickly, so I'm going to count it off slowly, and then make sure you loop it so you get plenty of practice. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 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 loop it so you can practice. Your repertoire is getting very impressive, so let's spend some time playing some of those tunes that you really like, and we'll pick up where we left off tomorrow. Well, we've come to our last chord. It's the D minor chord, and it's a great one to end this because adding this to the other minor chords that you've learned, as well as integrating it to a lot of the major chords, will allow you to play a lot of different songs. So here we go, the D minor. So like the C major chord that we learned earlier, the D minor requires each finger to be in its own fret. So the first finger is going to be in the first fret on the first string. The second finger is going to be on the third string and in the second fret. 1, 2, 3. And the third finger is going to be on the second string stretched out to the third fret. 1, 2 on the second string. So there we go. That's how we finger a D minor chord. Now we're going to let's strum 5 strings, okay? So leave out the deepest string, the one closest to you, and let's just strum the bottom 5. And that's the D minor. Let's do each string by itself. And then let's strum it again. So now we're going to combine A minor and D minor. So let's take a look at A minor. Go ahead and get set up. Keep all your fingers close to the ends of the frets. Use your fingertips. Don't press too hard, but press hard enough to get a nice clean sound. And when you switch to D minor, all that you're doing is you're dropping every finger one string and then pushing your third finger out into the third fret. Okay? Let's take a look at that again. A minor, down, and out. So let's try and strum this in time. We're going to do 8 strums of A minor and then 8 strums of D minor. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. To D minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And to D minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead and loop that, and then take a closer look. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, A lot of times when you're combining minor chords to play songs, you can sometimes get a very mellow kind of dark sound in a chord. And what you might want to try and do is just pick the strings individually when you're playing minor chords. So let's combine A minor and D minor, E major and A minor, just as an example. I'm just picking the notes. So go ahead and look through the list of new songs. I'm sure you can find some songs that you'd like to play. Try different strums. You might find that they sound more like your memory of the song, and just have fun with it. Try picking some of those minor chords out like we just did. Today we're going to start off practicing some rhythms using the C chord, the E minor chord, the D minor chord, and finally the G chord. So we're going to do down, down, up, 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 down, down, up. You got that? 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Okay? I'm going to count us off and then make sure you loop it afterwards so you can get a lot of practice in on this. We're moving quickly. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 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 1, 2, and 3. C, E minor, D minor, G, C, E minor, D minor, G, C, E minor, D minor, G, C, E minor, D minor, G. Go ahead and loop that. Now with all these chords under your belt, you could play for hours. So go ahead, spend some time, learn some of your favorite tunes. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, today we're going to start out practicing a little bit of rhythm on some chords that we already know. We'll use the A minor, and then we'll just move that one finger over to make the C chord. Then we'll come down to a D minor chord, and then the E chord. I think you'll like this. These chords sound really good together, and we'll put a little groove in it, and it'll be fun. How about a kind of a light reggae groove? Down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up. Down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Okay, you got that in your head? Let's loop this and keep practicing. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now, using these chords and all the chords you've learned to date, you've got a nice little arsenal with which you can play lots of cool songs. So take a look at that list, spend the rest of today practicing the different songs that appeal to you on that list, and from this point on, every day, try and get in a little bit of time, take a look at that list, play the music, and have a lot of fun with it. Congratulations, there you have it. You've got a lot of songs under your belt now. Have fun with it. Just keep playing as often as you feel like. That's what it's about, making music. Come visit me online at www.heyravi.com. That's HEYRAVI.com. And I also hope that you'll take advantage of many of the other courses available here at TrueFire, or go down to your local music store and sign up for lessons. I think you've got a great future of guitar ahead of you. I'll see you soon. Well, you've learned a lot of stuff over the past 21 days. A lot of great chords that are enabling you to play many, many songs, hundreds, if not thousands. But it can be a bit like cable television. There's always something on to watch, but maybe it's not exactly what you were looking for. So what we want to do in these next few segments is tackle some of the things that are going to enable you to go beyond what you've just learned and to be able to play the songs that you want to play. Some of the things we're going to talk about are how to read a chord chart. Many books that you see have chord charts in them, and there's nothing worse than when you're playing a song with the chords that you know and you come across a chord that you don't know. That can be a stumbling block. So we're going to get past that barrier because I'm going to show you how to read some chord charts. I'm also going to look a little bit into other open chords that'll complement what you've already learned. They're very similar to what you've learned, but making a couple extra changes will give you new colors to play with. So that can be really exciting. Bar chords are something that we're going to talk about. That enables you to take the chords that you know, but slide them up and down the neck and create other chords. So virtually any chord can be played as a bar chord. So by learning those, you'll be able to tackle any of the chords that you see in a book or online. And then finally, that's what we need to do. We need to crack open a book or pull up a web page and tackle a song right from the source. With all this information that you have, you can now go to any book or any website and be able to play your favorite songs. That's what it's all about, isn't it? We want to be able to play the songs that we want to play. I want you to be able to play the songs that you want to play. So sit back, grab your guitar, and let's break some new ground right now. A lot of times when you open a book or call up a website, you're going to find songs with chords that you don't know. But there are usually chord charts associated with them. So that's there to help you build the chords that you may not know already. Now, chord charts can be a little intimidating at first, but they're actually quite easy to read, especially once you're used to them. You can just breeze through them while you're playing a song. What they are depictions of the guitar upright. It's basically just taking a little picture of the first few frets or perhaps somewhere down the neck if a Roman numeral is next to a fret. That's indicating that particular fret. And for example, if you see a V, a Roman numeral 5, by this fret, it's showing that the top of the chord chart is the 5th fret, or wherever that number is. But let's just assume that there's no number. You're basically looking at the first 3 or 4 frets. The strings are the lines that are going up and down. The frets are the horizontal lines. So with that kind of information, then we can start plotting the fingers, like any kind of graph. So you'll see the little dots there. Well, those dots indicate your fingers, and sometimes there's a number inside the dot. That's indicating which finger you're supposed to put in that place. Or in other chord charts, you might see the numbers just written across the top of the strings, indicating that that's the finger that you're going to use to play that particular note. So let's take a look at an E chord, for example. When we look at the E chord graph, again in this vertical position, it's indicating a dot on the 3rd string in the 1st fret, and it's got a 1 in it. Or maybe the 1 will be at the top. So 1, 2, 3, right? I'm on my 3rd string, and I'm in my 1st fret. So I put my 1st finger there. The 2nd finger is noted on the 5th string on the 2nd fret. So I'll slide up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to my 5th string, and I'll put my finger in the 2nd fret. As you can see, there's another dot there right underneath that 2nd finger, and that's for your 3rd finger. Same fret, still going to be in the 2nd fret, but this time it's going to be on the 4th string. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you know this chord, but that's the way an E chord looks as depicted by a chord chart. Now if I simply put my guitar in playing position, here I am again, and my chord looks as the way that we're used to it. And there's my E chord. So that's really how you read a chord chart. We can do another one if you want. Let's take a look at a C chord, okay? And this time I'm not going to turn the guitar upright. Let's try and do the transition in our minds here. But take a look at that C chord chart, right? You still got your 6 strings going up and down. You've got your frets going vertically across. Now look at where the dots are. We've got the dot for the 1st finger, right, noted by the number 1, on the 1st fret in the 2nd string, on the 2nd string in the 1st fret. So there that is. And you see the location of that in the chord chart? Our 2nd finger is noted to be on the 4th string in the second fret. So I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, and there it is. The third finger is on the 5th string and in the 3rd fret. So that's going to go right there. So you see how that works? Take a look at that in your chord chart. Let me turn the guitar again so that you can see it as it relates to the way it's written in the chord chart without moving my fingers. And I'm just going to move it right back to playing position. So that is how you can use chord charts to play songs and chords that you don't know. Now, you've learned a lot of the basic major and minor chords, but you may come across at times chords called sevenths, or minor sevenths maybe. Now, these are really nice chords, but you should know that anytime you see a minor 7, for example, you can just play a minor. An A minor 7 can be played as an A minor. It may be not quite as interesting, but it won't clash. Same goes for what we call a dominant 7 chord, let's say an A7. Anytime you see a letter followed by a number without any other information, it's referred to as a dominant chord. But an A7, again, can just be played like an A major chord. The A7 is a little bit richer in sound, but it will not conflict if you just play an A major chord. Still, why not learn them? They're not complicated chords to play. So let's take a look at the A chord that you already know. And in order to take an A chord that sounds like that, and to make it an A7, also known as an A dominant 7, it's really simple. We're just going to lift our first finger, and there it is. All right, a little bit of a richer sound. And you can see that on the chord chart. They're just 2 indications for fingers, just 2 dots. Again, the A chord, and I'm going to lift up my finger and make an A7. You may want to take a little bit of time and just practice strumming the A chord and the A7, and the A chord, and then again the A7. So now when you're looking at a chord chart, when you're looking at it in a book or on a website, and you come across an A7 or a D7, let's talk about D7 as well, then you'll be able to play the 7s rather than just the simpler major form. Remember the D chord. Now we're going to move all of our fingers in this one to create a D7 chord and go like that, okay? It's a much bigger move. Look at the chord chart now that you know how to read them, and you'll see exactly where to place your fingers. Interestingly, though, just so you know, it's hard to realize, while you're moving all of your fingers, these 2 notes are actually staying in the exact same place. We're just refingering them with our 2nd and 3rd finger. Watch this. Okay, that's my D chord. Now I'm just going to refinger these 2 notes, and then I'm putting my first finger here in the 1st fret on the 2nd string to create D7. Now I've got that richer D7. Let's go to the E chord, you know, and in order to get to an E7, lift up our 3rd finger. So it's a little bit richer there, right? The E chord, and then the E7. So now, with that information, you have 3 more chords that you can use in order to play the songs that you really want to play. And if you look at the accompanying chord charts, there are a few other dominant 7 chords that I've noted there in case you come across those. Well, let's talk about minors to minor 7s. It's a similar type of relationship. Let's start with the A minor chord. You remember that one. And in order to get to an A minor 7, all we're going to do is lift up our 3rd finger. So now we have a richer sound on that A minor chord. Let's look at that again. A minor, and then I'm going to lift up my 3rd finger to create A minor 7. We can do a similar thing with D minor. You remember the D minor chord? There it is. Now, it's a little bit trickier to finger this, but the idea is the same. We're just going to basically take off our 3rd finger, and we're going to take our 1st finger and put it across both strings. That's what makes it a little bit trickier. It requires a little bit of muscle to make that happen. But there's our D minor 7 chord. Let's look at that again. D minor to the D minor chord, minor 7 chord rather. Okay? Now we can do the same thing with our E minor. Remember that one? Nice big rich E minor chord. Another really simple way to get to an E minor 7 chord is simply lift off our third finger. Just like that. I'm going to put it back for the regular E minor. And lifting off the finger for the E minor 7 chord. So there you go. With these few extra chords in the open position, you now have more colors in your palette to go out and play some of your favorite songs. Now, bar chords are amazingly resourceful. It's really exciting once you learn them. In fact, once people get a handle on bar chords, often they don't even play open chords anymore. Now, I'm not advising that because I think open chords are really cool and they have a great character. But bar chords open up a world of possibilities for you to play. Well, what is a bar chord? Basically, it's taking the chords that you already know, like an E chord, for example, and it's sliding it up. But the problem is that if I'm sliding up an E chord, my open strings are still ringing the same way. So I have to solve that problem. How do I do that? Well, I basically take this E chord and I refinger it, and then I replace this nut here, the bar, with my first finger. And now I can slide that same chord all the way up. Let me show that to you again. Here's that E chord, and I'll break this down a little bit more for you. Refinger it so that my first finger is free. Okay, so watch what I did again. And I just can slide up now and play every single major chord that exists. All the way up to the 12th fret and beyond, as far as you can reach. So that's the basic idea. Now what's interesting too is, let me do that again. I'll take that E, I'll refinger it, I'll slide it up. Let me just come up a few frets, and we'll discuss in a minute exactly how to find the chord that you want. But here I am with that bar chord. This happens to be an A. And if you remember, the difference between an E chord and an E minor was just one finger, okay? You're used to fingering it like this, but now with the refingering, I'm just lifting off my middle finger to go from E to E minor. Well, what's nice is, now that I can make the bar chords, same thing. To go from A to A minor allows me to make that change very easily. So now I've got my minor bar chord that I can slide around and make many more chords. So this is it's a really nice way to get around the fretboard and to be able to play lots of songs. Now these particular ones that I'm playing, the majors, and the minors. In fact, let me show you the 7 while we're talking about it. Going back to the major chord. Remember when we talked about E and E7 down here? I said all you have to do is lift up one finger to make your 7. Okay, and again we were fingering it this way. So that was the 7. Now I'm refingering it this way, and I can slide up. I'm going to slide back up to my A, which I'll explain in a minute. And if I take off my pinky, now I have an A7. Okay, so what we've learned right now is this bar chord, which again happens to be an A. By lifting up my middle finger, I've got the minor version. Okay. I'm going to put that finger back down, back to the major. By lifting up my pinky, I've got the 7, or the dominant 7 version. Now let's talk about how you slide a bar chord around in order to be able to find the exact right chord that you want. For example, how do I know if this is an A, or how do I know if it's a G or an F sharp, and what does that all mean? Well, in order to effectively use bar chords, especially the ones that are rooted on the 6th string, which is what we're talking about right now, where your first finger on the 6th string is playing the root, the name of the chord. The first thing you need to know how to do is find all the notes on the string, on every fret. Seems like it might be a little intimidating, but I assure you it's not. There are 2 things that I want you to remember. The phrase before Christ, and think about Elmer Fudd, okay? Before Christ, Elmer Fudd. B to C and E to F. B to C is a half step. That means it's a 1 fret move. To go from B to C, it's a 1 fret move. E to F is the same thing. E to F is a half step. To go from E to F is a 1 fret move. Everything else is a whole step, which is 2 frets. You need to know that your 6th string is the E string. With that knowledge, you can find all of the chords that you are likely to come across, unless it's a sharp or flat, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Here's my E chord. E to F, I said, is a half step, right? So that'll be in the first fret. A half step is a 1 fret move, E to F. F to G is a whole step. G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step. Now we're coming to my before Christ idea here. B to C is a half step. C to D is a whole step. And D to E is a whole step. And then it starts all over. So when we're playing our bar chords, back to our E chord, refingering that, that's E. Remember, Elmer Fudd, 1 fret, half step. I'm going to slide it up and replace the nut here with my first finger, pressing quite hard at first, but you'll get used to it. Sometimes with a bar chord, the easiest way to get more power into it is to roll your finger to the outside. See how I'm taking my first finger and I'm rolling it to the outside? That makes it a little bit easier to press on the strings, okay? So back to my E, a half step up to F. F to G is a whole step, 2 frets. So I'm going to go up to G, 2 frets. G to A is another 2 frets. Remember, in music, we only have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and then it starts again, A, B, C, D, F, and G. So here I am on G, sliding 2 frets up to A. Here I am on A, sliding 2 frets up to B. Now we've got to remember that before Christ idea. B to C is a half step. C to D is a whole step. And D to E is a whole step as well. So now I've taken that chord and I've moved all the way up the neck with using a bar chord, playing every bar chord, major bar chord with a 6-string root that's available to me unless it's a sharp or flat. So let's talk about a sharp or flat, because you're going to come across that too. You might come across an A flat chord. Here's my A chord, right? E, F, G, A. So I'm building the chord there on the 5th fret because that's where the A chord is, with my root being A. A sharp means a half step up, and we're just talking about pitch, okay? So the pitch is coming towards me. I'm going to slide the whole chord up. That's an A sharp chord, okay? I'm going to go back down to A, and a flat is a half step down in pitch, so a little bit further away from me. So there I am. That's my A flat. Now, you might have figured this out already, but E to F is a half step, F to G. Here's my G, right? G sharp is a half step up. If I go up a half step above that again, I'm back to A. And if I go to A flat, a half step down, I'm back here. What does that tell us? It tells us that G sharp and A flat are actually the same. So don't be confused if you see something calling for a G sharp or something calling for an A flat and you wind up on the same fret with the chord. It's actually the same thing. It's just noted a little differently depending on the context of the song. So remember, E to F, Elmer Fudd, and before Christ, B to C are half steps, 1 fret move. Everything else is a 2 fret move. A sharp is a half step up, 1 fret. A flat is a half step down, 1 fret. Again, up and down is always in reference to the pitch, as the pitch goes up or the pitch goes down. So now, with this amount of information, you can find all your major chords, your minor chords, and your 7 chords that are rooted on the 6th string. You can find every single one of them by knowing these 3 forms and remembering that B to C and E to F are half steps. So to recap some of this, again, I've got my E chord, right? And I'm going to refinger that just like this so that my first finger is free. And now, still an E chord, I'm going to slide up 1 fret to F. 1 more fret to F sharp, or maybe G flat. 1 more fret to G. 1 more fret to G sharp or A flat. 1 more fret to A. Coming up to A sharp or B flat. Now I'm moving 1 more fret up to B. Here we're going to go to C, directly to C, right? Because B to C before Christ is a half step. 1 more fret, C sharp or D flat. 1 more fret to D, up to D sharp and E flat. And then I've reached my octave. and I'm back to E. And of course, we can do that with the minor chords as well. E minor, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A minor, and so on and so forth. Same thing with the sevens, right? We're refingering and just going to play a 7 chord, F7, F sharp 7, G7, G sharp 7, A7, just sliding up, okay? So let's have some fun. Let's find a chord. Well, let's look for a B7 chord. That's one that might come across, that we might come across in a book or on a website. So the first thing I need to do is I need to find the root B on my 6th string. Okay, here's my 6th string. We know E to F is a half step, F to G is a whole step, G to A is a whole step, A to B is a half step. So I found my root, and we're going to look for a B7 chord, and we know the form of the B7 chord is like the major, except without my pinky. There we go. I've found it. Or I might be looking for a G minor, in which case I'm going to go back to my E string here. E to F is a half step, F to G is a whole step. Here we are, G, and I'm going to make the minor form, right? It was just like the major chord, but without my middle finger. Minor, just like taking my E minor chord and sliding it up to a G minor. Let's do one more, a C major chord. Where am I going to go? I'm going to start with my E. E to F is a half step, Elmer Fudd. F to G is a whole step. G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step. And then the before Christ idea, B to C is a half step. And I'm going to make my major chord right there. Sounds a lot like a C major chord, doesn't it? C major chord that you know already, and the C bar chord. They're the same chord, just a different voicing. My A chord is the same as this bar chord, A. Okay? My G chord is the same as this bar chord, G. My D minor chord is going to be the same as my D minor chord all the way up here. Okay? So now you can see why a lot of people, once they learn the bar chords, they almost play every chord as a bar chord, because all we have to do is slide it around. It really opens up a whole lot of possibilities for us. But it's nice to mix the bar chords with the open chords. It gives us more sounds to play with. Well, you've learned bar chords that are rooted on the 6th string, on the low E string. So now let's talk about some bar chords that are rooted on the 5th string, on our A string. Now these chords the idea is the same. They're still going to be modeled after our open chords, and we're still going to slide them around to different frets in order to create different sounds. They're a little trickier to play though, maybe. The finger positions are not quite as user friendly, but once you get them down, you're going to have a ball with these. Let's take a look at the A chord. That's the A chord that we've been playing. And what we need to do is free up our first finger in order to replace the nut so that we can slide this A chord around. The easiest way to do that is to use one finger to play all 3 of these notes. You know, a lot of times you'll see guitar players playing an A chord just like that. It's easier. I do it all the time. But still, that hasn't freed up our first finger, has it? So what we might do is we might replace our first finger with our 3rd finger. You got to push kind of hard and back bend your knuckle a little bit. It's not the most comfortable at first, but you'll get used to it, I promise. And now, if I'm going to slide up that chord, I need to replace the nut with my first finger. So let's slide this chord up 2 frets and then replace the nut with my first finger. Notice, however, that I am not covering the 6th string. I'm not all the way up here. I'm just playing 5 strings. So that's a little bit of a challenge because it's hard to just strum 5 strings. However, you can use the top of this finger to just touch the string, not press it, but just touch it in order to mute it out, and then you don't have a problem. So I'm just going to slide back down here to the A chord so you can hear it. There's the A chord, and now I'm going to slide it up. This happens to be a B, and I'll explain that in a minute. Muting out the 6th string, and now I've got my B chord, and my C, and my D, and my E, and again, I'll show you how to find these in a minute, so don't worry about that. But the principle is the same as what we were doing with the 6th string, except that our first finger is rooted on the 5th string, and it's actually doing double duty here and muting out that 6th string. Whenever you're playing a bar chord, sometimes in order to get them to sound really good, you want to roll your finger to the outside, that first finger. It's just a little bit easier to press when you do it that way. Now, like we did with the bar chords that were rooted on the 6th string, if we just change the original form, right? We went from our A chord to playing it just like this. Well, our A minor chord was like this. You remember that? I'm going to refinger this A minor in order to free up my first finger. That's the goal with all bar chords. We need that first finger available to do something else. So I'm going to refinger it like this. Okay, here we got our A minor chord. And now look, my first finger is free to replace the nut as I slide the chord up. So I'm just going to, for the heck of it, slide it up 1 fret right now, replace my first finger, replace the nut with my first finger, using the top of my first finger to mute out that 6th string, rolling my finger a little bit to the side in order to get a little bit more strength. A lot of things to think about, but you'll get a lot of mileage out of these chords as well. And now I can just roll that minor chord basically right up the neck, slide it right up. It gives me a lot of opportunities to play virtually any minor chord that I might come across. So now we're going to take a look at the 7th chord, or the dominant 7th chord. Remember that anytime you see the letter, the chord name, followed just by a number, it means dominant 7. That's different than a major 7, different than a minor 7. But if you see D7, for example, or A7, that's also known as a dominant chord. So that's what we're going to look at. So I'm going to refinger the A chord, just going back to the way we've learned it in the open position. And remember what I told you, from moving from an A chord to an A7 chord, all we're going to do is lift up that first finger, right? So A chord to the A7. So there we go. And the goal with a bar chord is to have your first finger free. And we have our first finger free in this position. However, it's a bit of a stretch in order to replace the bar as we slide it up. So to make it a little bit easier on our hands, I'm going to still refinger this A7 chord by moving my 3rd finger into the second, to where my 2nd finger is, and using my pinky where my 3rd finger is. So watch here, I'm going to move this and refinger it like that. Okay, I've gone from here right to here. Same notes, still an A7 chord. But now I've got a lot of room in my hand in order to make the bar chord sound a little bit better. I can now take this chord and slide it up anywhere I want to go in order to create all the different dominant 7 or 7 chords that I might come across when looking at a piece of music. So this is a D7, and I'll explain how I found this as a D7 in a minute. But going from the D major that we've already learned, where both fingers are kind of barring a few strings, all I have to do is arch my 3rd finger and put my pinky down on the 2nd string. Okay? I want you to see that again, because you might come across the need to go from a major chord like this to a 7, a dominant 7 like this. Notice actually, as my 2nd finger is free too, I'm even kind of leaning it on my 1st finger to get a little bit of extra pressure to press those chords down. You can do that too if your hands are shaped in a similar way to mine that allow you to do that. So my major to my dominant 7. Now, how do we find out whether this is a D7 or a C7 or a B7 or a D major, C major, B major? And of course, we've talked about the minors too. D minor, C minor, B minor. Well, let's remember, Before Christ and Elmer Fudd. Why are those so important? B to C, Before Christ, is a half step. That's a 1-fret move. And Elmer Fudd, E to F, that's a 1-fret move too, a half step. Everything else is a whole step, a 2-fret move. So let's look at this. We're on our A string, right? A is the root, our 5th string, because that's where these bar chords are rooted. Here's my A chord, refingered as such, so that my 1st finger can play the bar, and I'm going to go from A to B. That's a 2-fret move, 1, 2, replace the nut with my 1st finger, muting the 6th string with the top of my 1st finger. There's my B chord, B to C. Before Christ, half step, sliding up. Whole step up to D. D to E is a whole step as well. E to F, Elmer Fudd, half step. F to G, whole step. G to A, whole step. Okay, and of course, this is going to work with the minor bar chords as well. A minor, whole step up to B minor, half step up to C minor, whole step up to D minor, whole step up to E minor. Elmer Fudd is here, E to F, half step, F to G, and G to A minor. So those are all of my minor chords up the neck with the 5th string root. We can do those for the 7s as well, as I'll explain in a second. But let's also talk a little bit about sharps and flats. Here's my D major chord, right? A, B, C, D. D major chord. Here's my D7 chord, my D minor chord. If I want to make, let's go back to the D7 for the fun of it. If I want to make this a D sharp 7 chord, what does a sharp mean? It means a half step up in pitch, a half step higher. Just take this whole chord and slide it up 1 fret. Going back to D7 here, and if I want to make it a D flat 7, I'm going to go down a half step in pitch, right there, okay? So D, D sharp 7, D7, D flat 7. Back to D. C to D is a whole step, so if I want to go all the way down to C, I'm going to go down 2 frets down to C. If I want to come up to C sharp, I'm going to come up in pitch a half step. There's my C sharp 7. Looks an awful lot like a D flat 7, doesn't it? Here was my D7, there's my D flat 7. Yes, indeed, C sharp 7 and D7 are the same chord. So don't be confused if you wind up playing that chord twice, but maybe it has a different name. That'll happen often in music. So to recap, our 5th string rooted chords, our majors, our minors, and our dominant 7s all have their root on the A string, on the 5th string. So we'll count them up in half steps and whole steps. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B to C, and E to F being the half steps. Going to go back to D, since it's in the middle here. D sharp, up a half step in pitch. D flat, down a half step in pitch. Now, having the chords that are rooted on the 5th string, as well as the bar chords that we learned rooted on the 6th string, give you a lot of options to play chords. Many chords without sliding all over the neck, because that can be part of the problem, is when you slide too much, it's a complicated way to play. But I can play my A chord here, my D chord here, and my E chord here. Look at this. All right, here's my A chord, open position, D chord, open position, E chord, open position. I'm going to play those all in bar chords, the bar chords that we've just learned. A chord, 6th string, bar chord. D, rooted on the 5th string, bar chord. And E, D to E is a whole step, rooted on the 5th string. So listen to this. A, D, E, D. Back to the open positions. A, D, E, D. One more time. A, D, E, D, A, D, E, D. So it sounds the same. But being able to take a bar chord and slide it up and down the neck gives you a whole lot of possibilities to play virtually any major, minor, or dominant 7 chord that you will come across in a different place than just the open strings. Have a lot of fun with it. Practice it. Spend a little bit of time every day practicing switching between your bar chords. Don't do it for too long if you're getting frustrated. It will come. But every day, just like everything else we've done, is the best way to learn your bar chords. You'll learn them quickly and you'll have a ball playing them. Now, you might come across chord charts showing a bar chord. So let's take a look at that, because sometimes that can look a little different than the chord charts that you see in the open position. In fact, sometimes it can look very similar, and that can be confusing as too. So I want to point out the differences. Again, a chord chart is always looking at the guitar in a vertical position. So when you see a bar chord noted, it's going to show the first finger playing a variety of different strings, okay? It's not going to necessarily show the first finger laying across all the strings, but it may show that the first finger is going to be here on the sixth string, and it's going to be here on the second string, and here on the first string, but all in the same fret. Well, what that indicates to you automatically is that it has to be a bar. There's no other way your first finger can possibly play that configuration of notes unless you're barring your first finger right across it. And then the rest of it is going to look like a regular chord chart right on top of that. Okay? So while you might be used to seeing an E chord chart, when it's a bar chord, it's going to look the same, except that your first finger is going to also be covering some duty here, several strings at the same time. Also, how you know that this is a bar chord as opposed to an open chord, aside from your first finger, is that there's that little Roman numeral next to this fret, that Roman numeral 5. That's telling me that the first fret noted on the chord chart is actually the 5th fret, and everything else is above that, the 6th fret, the 7th fret, 8th fret, etc. Roman numeral 5 that you see there is the 5th fret. So this is the A chord. And that looks like that when you're playing it, right? So if I were to go to a G chord, I would just simply slide this chord down 2 frets, right? Because G to A is a whole step. And now if you look at that chord chart, it doesn't have the Roman numeral 5 anymore. It has the Roman numeral 3. It's the same thing. Look at the chart, just like this. The chord looks exactly the same as the A bar chord, because it is the same form. However, we've now put it on the 3rd fret, and that's what that Roman numeral 3 indicates. If it were to indicate the 7th fret, it would be a C chord, and if it were to indicate the 1st fret, well, it probably wouldn't indicate the 1st fret, because for the most part in chord charts, you're already looking at the first few frets. But anything high up, you might find a 10, a D chord, right up here, and you'll have the Roman numeral 10 indicating that the first box in the chord chart is actually the 10th fret. So now you've got a lot of chords down and you can play a lot of songs. But again, we want to try and make sure that you can play the songs that you want to play. So how are you going to do this? Where are you going to get your information? Well, a lot of people go online and they find the lyrics, and in many cases the chords are written over the lyrics, and people play music just looking at that simple representation of a song. So that's what I've done. I've gone online and I've downloaded one of my all-time favorite songs and figured I'd show you how to take that piece of paper and turn it into some music. So let's take a look at that. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is it says Capo 3. Well, what does that mean? It's a little bit beyond the scope of this course, but essentially it's telling you to put a capo on the 3rd fret. That's a device that us guitar players use when we're trying to change our open strings. But the reality is it's going to sound fine without it. It's going to sound just fine. It may not sound exactly the way it did when the Beatles played it, but it's going to sound great when we sit here and sing and play it for ourselves and for our own enjoyment. So we're going to ignore that Capo 3, and let's just look at the lyrics. I'm sure you can sing the song in your head just by looking at it, and go ahead and sing it out loud. That's what we're going to do in a few minutes. Now, these letters above are the chords. It's the chords that we've been learning over the past 21 days, and they are lined up with the word when you're supposed to go to that chord. So, for example, on the word Jude, we're going to go to the D chord. Right here, but before the word bad, we're going to go to an A chord. On sad, we're going to go to an A7. Then over here, when we get there in the lyric, we're going to switch to the D chord, and so on. So let's go through this one time here, and I'll play it. Follow along on the music, and I'll sing along as well. And you'll see exactly how this works. Okay, I'm playing a D chord to get my pitch because that's the first chord that we're going to play. So now I know it in my mind, and I'm just going to start singing along and playing. Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let her into your heart. Then you can start to make it better. Now you see how that works? Now let's try it again. I want you to look at both of my hands so you can see exactly how I'm strumming. All I'm doing is just downstrums. Very simple, straight downstrums. Because really, the bulk of the song is in the melody, and that's true of a lot of songs. We shouldn't always get so caught up in the strumming. As we play songs and get better at songs, we'll get the feel of the song and maybe adjust our strumming to better capture the feel of that song. But the reality is, just by playing chords straight and singing the melody, we're going to get a pretty good sense of the song and have a lot of fun playing it. Watch, let me do it again. Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let her into your heart. Then you can start to make it better. And these are the same chords that we've been learning over the past 21 days with the same fingering. So let's take a look at those chords and play along together maybe, because that'll really give us a nice context with this great song. So we're going to start with the D chord. Ready? Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let her into your heart. Then you can start to make it better. So there you have it. That's how you can take a song off the internet and start playing it. Look around, because there are a lot of songs. Many of your favorite songs will be there with the lyrics and the chord written right over it. And remember, the chord is written right over the word where you're supposed to make that change. So go ahead and do that and you'll have a lot of fun. And if you run into a chord that you don't know, remember, you've always got your bar chords right at your fingertips. Using those bar chords will allow you to play any of those chords that you haven't yet learned in the open position. But of course, we've covered a lot of those open chords too over the past 21 days. So with all these tools, you really can go out and play your favorite songs. But you might find that you'd rather pull a song out of a book. And in the books, they might be written a little differently than you find them online. So let's take a look at Every Breath You Take by The Police. There are a lot of different things written on this page, and there are songbooks that are made for easy guitar that eliminate a lot of this information. This book obviously is not one of those, and that's great because I'm going to teach you how to eliminate a lot of the information that you don't need in order to be able to play this song and make it sound great and have a lot of fun with it. So some of the things to look at and ignore are this information here. It's basically just telling us to change the tuning of our guitar. We don't need to do that. It's going to sound fine without doing that. Here's some time signature information and some other information that really doesn't apply to us right now. It's not that it's not important. It's something that we'll talk about in a future course. But the reality is you just don't need to worry yourself with all this information in order to have fun playing this great song. There are some chord charts. There's something that we have talked about, and these are good to know in case you come across some chords that you don't know. For example, like the F chord. This is a great example of an F chord, and you can see, based on what we discussed, that this is actually a bar chord. The G chord is the bar chord, same as the F, but a whole step higher, 2 frets, right? Because F to G is a whole step. What else are we going to look at here? The tempo, we know the tempo because we're going to sing this song and we're familiar with it. So we don't need to worry about exactly what that means. And I think the best thing to do is really go to where the lyrics are. Let's take a look at where the lyrics start. And that's going to be in conjunction with the chords written over it, just kind of like the stuff that we pulled off the internet earlier. Here the lyrics start, and here we have a chord, an A add 9. Now, I know what you're thinking. You don't know an A add 9. Well, as I mentioned, just about all these chords can be boiled down to just their major and minor forms. So this A add 9, we're going to call it an A, and we're not going to worry about the rest of that. What's next? An F sharp minor 9. How about we just make that an F sharp minor chord? We can do that using the bar chords that we discussed. A D sus2. What's a sus2? We're not going to worry about it. We're just going to play a D chord. An E sus2, again, we're just going to play an E chord. And then we're back to that F sharp minor 9. Remember, the key things that we're looking for when we are trying to simplify the chords are if it's a minor, we want to make it a minor type chord, and you know those. If it's just anything other than a minor, for example, an A add 9, or a D sus2, we're just going to use the letter name in its major form. So how are we going to play this? This is going to go from an A chord to an F sharp minor chord. We'll use a bar chord that we've learned, up to the open D chord that you know, up to an open E chord that you know, and back to an F sharp minor chord in the bar chord form. So follow along. I'm going to play it, and you'll see exactly how this goes. I'll sing along too, and then we'll show you several different versions of how we can do this. So we're going to start down there where it says verse, and the first chord is going to be an A, so I'm going to play that. The lyrics actually start a little earlier. There's that pickup, so I'm going to start singing over the A before I start the strumming. So here we go. Every breath you take, every move you make, every bond you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to play it again, but I want you to watch my hands. And you'll see the strumming, again, is pretty simple. I'm just doing straight down strums. As you become more familiar with the song, you might decide you want to change the strumming up a little bit or the way that you feel, but I think as you can see, the song's really in the melody, and the strumming, keeping it simple allows me to play the song and have a lot of fun with it. So let's do it again, and I'm going to play and sing along and check out my hands in the strumming. Getting my note there for my melody. Every breath you take, and every move you make, every bond you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you. So you see how that works? Let's try it again. Take a close look at my fingers, because they're going to be most of the chords that we've been practicing in 21 days. But I'm also going to throw in that bar chord, that F sharp minor bar chord, which you know how to play now. So here we go. Every breath you take, every move you make, every bond you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you. So there you have it. That's a simple way to take music out of a chord book that may look complicated, but we can really break it down, play it with the more simplified versions of the chords that we know, and have a lot of fun with it. I mean, it sounds pretty good, and I think that you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of playing many, many of your favorite songs by simplifying it and using the chord books that are available to you. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this extra footage that'll hopefully help you make the transition from being able to play a lot of songs to being able to play the songs that you really want to play. That's what it's about, after all, isn't it? And, we really appreciate all the feedback that you've given us, because it allows us to tailor things and make them even better for you, and always encourage you to give us some feedback, because that's what we're here for. We want to make this successful for you and for us. So think about some of the things we've done. I mean, of course, you've got your 21 days where you've really learned to play the guitar and been able to play many, many, many songs. And now we've added a few extra open chords. You know how to read chord charts. That's a big deal, because if you ever come across a chord chart a chord that you don't know, now know how to read the chart. And that's really important. Bar chords. I mean, what a world of opportunity right there, isn't it? Bar chords just allow you to play virtually any chord that's out there. So that opens up a lot of possibilities. And then I hope with the strumming and with being able to pull chords right off the internet and out of a book, this will really empower you to go after those songs that you've always wanted to play. So have fun with it, and I hope to see you. I'm working on a future course that's going to pick up right where we're leaving off, and I think you're going to really enjoy that too. So go out, make some music, and have a blast.